Hey guys, this is Jakob. I'm content manager and I'm helping small and medium enterprises with their content strategy. In my podcast, Content Marketing Mastery, I'm interviewing people who create great content, PR experts, journalists, or content creators who know how to establish business models. And today I have a special guest. I'm very excited to speak with Tiji Thomas, who is a real expert when it comes to selling. Because this is something that many people, many of my clients, business coaches, consultants, many people struggle with this topic of selling. And we have COVID, so many people are at home. So you have to become good in front of the camera and sell your service and your products. That's my opinion. I'm sure TG will give us a lot of inside knowledge about how to sell effectively. Welcome, TJ. I'm very excited to speak with you today.
Nice to be here, Jakob. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you have the time, and we will go very deep in this topic of selling. But first of all, can you introduce yourself in a nutshell? So, who are you, and what's basically your passion?
Awesome. Yeah. So again, my name is Tiji Thomas. I live in the U.S. in Texas. I'm not a Texan by, obviously not by birth. I was born in India, but I grew up in the East Coast in Philadelphia. My wife is from Texas. We moved here. We've been living here. Got two amazing, awesome children. They're basically my why is my family. So I have several businesses. I guess you could consider me a serial entrepreneur. My focus is teaching people how to sell ethically. In person and over the phone, but I have some other interests as well. My main passion is to really impact the sales industry because it gets a bad rap. A lot of times people think about the used car salesman or high pressure selling. And what I do is I mainly work with coaches and consultants, service providers, and really show them that there is a way to sell their services in a non-sleazy way and serve more people. The thing about getting your message across is not just about making money, is you get to impact the world more, right? You get to serve more people. And if you do that the right way, then you can actually make money, right? So I never lead with making money. It's always looking for a way to serve others. So that's my passion. My passion is teaching students, clients how to spread their reach. So that's really what my passion is.
Yeah. So you also have this the unselling process, right? So how to sell in a way that it is not difficult for one or sleazy or that you don't feel uncomfortable. So can you explain some of the steps that people have in mind when it comes to this process? Can you explain the process?
Absolutely. So usually I do work with a lot of students, especially with COVID, where they're doing Zoom calls or phone calls. And what I do is I listen in when first students approach me, I listen in on their calls to see what they're doing. And what I find is not that they don't want to help the other, that their potential client. It's just that they end up talking about themselves, and what their accolades are and how much they want to help them. And here's the truth in any sales, right? Whether, whatever industry you go in, people may care about one thing, themselves.
Yes.
And what's in it for them? What's in it for me? Like if you're going to sell it, what's in it for me? So the main thing, and that's great for you to know that. And a lot of times coaches, consultants, and a lot of people in the sales industry don't understand it. That's awesome that you know that. Now that you know that they want to talk about themselves and they're interested in themselves, that's something y'all both have in common. You should focus on them and they're going to focus on them. So what I do is I really focus on getting my students to start listening and just effective listening. So my unselling system, I break it up into 4 parts where you connect, discover, present, and then you close the sale. And I actually call closing MBO. So a lot of my clients know the acronym MBO, and that stands for mutually beneficial outcome. So I don't look at selling or closing somebody per se. I just use that term because that's what most people are familiar with. But I want my clients to understand that you are looking to get a mutually beneficial outcome where there's no like, hey, I won that sale. No, it's like they get something, you get something, right? So it's a mutually beneficial outcome. And then what I do is, and most students, most people when I meet them, they mix the presenting and discovery, where they like to present their offer way before they understand what the actual true wants, desires, and needs are of their future potential customer. So I focus really on the connecting part, connecting and discovery, where you really dig in, find out why they're there, why are they in front of you, what, you know, what's the purpose, right? So I don't, you know, I don't like to interrupt people. I let them talk. I ask questions to get as much information as I can. And only once I find out what their true want is, their desire, again, what they want, not what I think they want, but what
Yes.
they actually want. Because a lot of times people will sell to what they think people want, which is another, you know, big problem that I see and hear when I'm listening to calls. But once you discover what they want, then you present your offer. And if you do it the right way, you're almost going to get 100% every time. Almost, right? I mean, I've had clients that came to me and they told me, TJ, I've got a coaching program, and I listen to their calls, they're converting maybe 10 to 15%. And I've had students that work with me and then they go to an 80% conversion rate, which is
Yes.
crazy, right? Just, it seems like it's like a big jump, but and that's not an anomaly. Most of my clients are doing well over 50%. And they typically come to me with 10 to 20%. So the thing is, what's the big difference? The big difference is just listening, asking better questions, and then once you, it's really important that people feel you hear them, right? Like if you start talking to me and I start cutting you off, you're going to get probably irritated, right? You're like, oh man, this guy's not even listening to me. But that happens all the times in the selling situation, where people are not, the salesperson is not patient, the coach is not patient, consultant's not patient, and then they want to talk over the other person. And a lot of times people don't know they're doing this. That's why I always tell my students to record their calls. And once that listening happens, and then
Yeah.
you actually ask a question based on listening, they're going to love it. They go, oh, wow, this person's really listening to what I have to say.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's in a nutshell: connect, discover, present, and then closing with what I call the MBO.
Yeah. Love it. So it reminds me a lot also to this discussion which is in the content marketing area, because what content marketers or marketers at all always try is they push. So they push their agenda, they push their information. But what I always do is just listen and ask also, what is my community interested in? What are the topics that they want to listen to? Or and this is something we have: writing classes, we have also coaching classes, but I attended to one active listening course in my life, and it was for me, it was life-changing, and it is something that that we don't train that much, I think. So I think that's a really great approach to when it comes to selling. Yeah, first connecting, that's the first part, and then in the second or the third part, yeah, presenting yourself and your project. Yeah, that's cool.
And most people don't listen. They've done studies on this where they say that when two people are talking, they've actually done studies on this, that 45% of the time that the person who is listening, who's supposed to be listening, is not listening at all. They're thinking about what to say. So they hear something, and all of a sudden you see that a light bulb goes, yeah, I want to say something. So they're thinking about what they're going to say. Another 45% of the time, they're looking where they can butt in to the conversation.
Okay.
So 90% of the time, people aren't being heard. And obviously, if you want to be heard, you want to be heard 100% of the time, but the people aren't listening. So it's great that you're taking those type of classes where you're getting better at that, because that is something that most people have a challenge with. Content writing, I will tell you that I get approached, like for my companies, there's a lot of content that I put out there, and I get approached by content writers all the time, and all they're telling me about is how great they are, how cheap they are. I don't like to go cheap. So when content writers assume that only people want to get cheap writers, no, I want to get good writing, but I also want to get people that are wanting to know about me, my business, my wants, my needs, my desires, right? So even if you approach somebody as a content writer, this is obviously for your majority of audience, I'm sure, you lead with, hey, what can I do for you? What do you need? what are some of the challenges you're facing, right?
Yes.
And it's amazing the engagement you can have, because I'm rarely ever approached by people that write content that way. It's always like, hey, this is what I offer, $5
Yeah.
$5 an article. That's it. I'm like, okay, well, that really doesn't tell me anything about you.
Yeah.
So everyone's selling. Remember, this is what I always tell people. You are always selling. Sales is something that sometimes people don't even realize, like, oh, yeah, I can't imagine them doing that. Everyone is always selling. If you're married, you sold the person you're married to that you're worthy to be married, right? If you get a mortgage, you're selling the mortgage company that you're going to pay back the loan.
Yes.
You know, if you want your kids to
Exactly.
eat vegetables, you got to sell them on the benefit of eating vegetables, right? People don't realize that's what they're doing. It's there. And so really what I teach can be used in pretty much anything, but it's all the foundational, the foundation is listening. You have to listen. You have to really, and not just act it, you have to truly talk to the other individual and want to find out what can change their life. I mean, I've been on sales calls many times when the other individual, the potential future customer, is crying on the phone. They're crying and they tell me, listen, I've never been asked these questions before, not even by my spouse. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for that. And when that happens, if you're asked for the sale, you made that connection. And as long as you can provide value, people are going to buy. That's why I've got high conversion rates, is because I take the time to listen and teach my students to do the same thing. So when you're asking for the sale, it's a natural flow, a natural progression, because people want to say yes. They want to say yes. It's not like somebody wants to waste 30 minutes out of the day on a strategy call. You know, nobody's got that time. They want to say yes, but they don't always trust the person, and especially if they're not being heard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So this reminds me so much of my own discovery calls. So I always try first asking questions and finding ways how I can help this person. Not trying to sell something, but for example, bringing him or her into my podcast to reach a bigger audience, or writing an article within the traditional media, or ways of how support each other. So that's always how I think. And at the end, it's always like, hey, Jakob, what can I do for you? the last 2 minutes or something, and I say, yeah, I would love to work with you closer. That's something that I say at the end. It's something like you're building the base, the ground, the foundation, and then business will grow automatically, because human wants to interact and work with each other, with like-minded people. That's what I believe in, and yeah, I love it. I love your process. It's really cool.
All right.
So when you said the other person cried, what kind of questions did you ask her or him? I'm not sure.
So I mean, one distinct thing that I'm looking at, because I work with different verticals, different industries, and I know at one time I was working with this business opportunity, and this young lady had said that she was looking to, you know, make money, and things, I take the time to listen. So when I kept asking, so when you say you want to make money, can you tell me a little bit more about that? What type of experiences have you had? And then we started talking about, you know, what she's doing now, because part of it was that she wasn't committed. And I'm very real with my, you know, people. Like, I'm very positive, but if there's something that's been holding them back mindset wise or approach, then I'm going to call them out, or I'm going to ask some questions about it. So then I asked her, well, you know, tell me a little bit about your work, because it sounds like you want to have this happen, but you haven't been putting in the time. Why haven't you been putting the time? And she started telling me, well, I'm just working a lot and I'm doing some overtime. And then, but she told me also she wants to see her children and her family. Well, I said, well, how often do you get a chance to, you know, spend time with your family? She goes, really hardly any. You know, and I said, well, what have you done, or what's being done to, you know, alleviate that, to make that better? She said, there's something I can do. And I asked, well, how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel that you're at work when you should be, you know, spending time with your family? And then she goes, oh man, I feel really bad. You know, and then I said, so if you want that to change, tell me what you're willing to do to make that change. So then I had her, so I listened, found out, you know, and that's when she started crying. She started crying, said, man, I really want things to change. I want to spend time, but I also let her know that she had a deficiency. Like, she wasn't really putting forth the effort. Like if it was me, I mean, when I was coming up, now I'm, where I want to be, where I was always envisioning, being very fortunate, very blessed in life. But at the time, I didn't have everything that I have now. And I had to work a full-time job, and I worked a part-time job. Then I would come home and I would work on my business. So I was tired, but I wanted it more than anything else. And that's what I always tell people. If you want something, a lot of times people will say the words, make it or break it. I'm not sure if you heard that saying, make
Yes.
it or break it. In my life, I don't have break it. There is no break it. I just focus on making it. That's it. And I don't use excuses. I don't. I mean, I just tell people that's the way it is. If you want something badly, if you want to get it. So she had her self-realization that she did not want it as badly as she did. But now that I had dialogue with her, she got really emotional. She goes, I am going to take that step. I'm going to be very committed. And then
Yes.
she ended up buying the package that I was selling. And I didn't really care about that. I wanted her to understand that you can buy whatever you want, but if you're not committed to it and you don't find the time to do it, you're not going to. But she loved the fact, she said that, listen, I've never been asked these questions ever. And I appreciate you listening to me, because most of the times people don't even care about my situation. And I always, always care about the people I talk to and work with.
Yeah. Cool, really cool. This is already a topic that we wanted to speak a little bit later, but it's now maybe it's a good point, because family life and business. I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur. So, and one of the things that you said in our discovery call is family time is the most important thing for you. And so, how do you find balance between this business topics, business grow, and your personal life, your family life? So do you have some lessons that you want to share? Because I also have a little son, 2.5 years, so that's interesting for me as a father, also as a husband. Would love to hear your maybe lessons or your advice.
Awesome. Yeah, 2.5. I remember that age. One of my favorite books of all time is called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And I actually absolutely, that's my all-time favorite book. And a lot of times people use the word work-life balance. To me, especially after reading that book, there's really no such thing as work-life balance. It's hard to balance that. You have to set aside time for one thing at a time. So what I do is, I'm very structured in my day. As sometimes people think work from home, you can do whatever you want, whenever you feel like. And that is usually a recipe for disaster. Because even though you have freedom working from home, the great thing about working from home is you can be around family, you can, relax, you can eat lunch with them, right? You can do certain things, but you still have to have an order to your day. You have to have a structure to your day. So I work up at 5 a.m. every day. And what I do is I have a plan throughout the day, and the plan includes setting aside time where I have lunch. Breakfast, I don't, because I wake up before anybody else. I don't have breakfast, but I do get a lot of work done between 5 and 9. And then, because I mean, obviously we've been trying to schedule this for a while, but my calendar is booked out sometimes for months because of the students. I mean, I really can't even take on any business now because of my schedule, which is good. I mean, I love staying busy. And then so we have lunch together, we have dinner together. On the weekends, I don't work, right? So I have a team of people that work for me, with me. So the thing is, when you work, but when you set aside time for your family, leave your phone behind, don't talk about business. You just want to focus on whatever the plan is. So if you have 2.5-year-old son, I will tell you, I use Google Calendar religiously. I use it all the time. And my family doesn't like this a lot, but they like it because they know stuff gets done, but they go onto my calendar. If there's an event, like if we have to go to a wedding, if we have to, go over somebody's house or something, even if I have to go pay taxes or whatever, it's in my calendar. So I would say, instead of thinking about playing with your son, put into your calendar, this is private time. This is family time. I'm not going to do anything else. So into your Google Calendar. And the good thing about Google Calendar, for those of you that don't have it or don't know what it is, Google, you can set up Gmail. And with Gmail, you get a Google Calendar. It's free. It doesn't cost anybody anything. But the cool thing about the Google Calendar is when you put something in there, it also goes to your email as a reminder. So you get those reminders all the time. So I would say the best thing to do is plan out your day, and set aside time specifically for family or friends or doing things. And that's your downtime and relaxing time. But when it's work time, it's work time. When
Yes.
it's work time, you have to focus on serving your clients and what can you do to get better. And I also do something called RPAs. I set up times for RPAs, and RPA is a revenue producing activity. And what I do then is I focus on things that are only going to produce revenue, not anything else. Maybe content writing, shooting videos, writing an email for the autoresponder, so things like that. So yeah, so my day, I plan it out pretty specifically.
That's cool. Yeah, love it. So I will include the link to the book also into the show notes so that people can find it.
Yeah, it's
That's
a great
cool.
book.
Yeah,
Great book.
yeah.
It's also as an audiobook. So it's if people have Audible, like Amazon Audible, you can get that there as well.
Yeah, that's also a good way to save time when you travel or do something outside or go for a walk, then listen to books. That's also something that I love to do. Okay, cool. Love it. That already is thank you for that advice. So when it comes back to selling, what are, in your opinion, some major blocks when it comes to selling? When you look on your clients or business coaches or consultants, what is a big struggle they have in their minds?
So I would say the biggest thing starts with them. And
The
this is
mindset.
why, yeah, this is why many people fail when they buy sales courses, right? They fail because they think the course is the key. It's not. You are the key. You're the one key, the person's the key. So a lot of times I feel that coaches don't value themselves as much. They have limiting beliefs as to what they are worth. Content writers, whatever, what they're worth. They think that the cheapest one wins, and it's not. It's you have to believe in yourself and your service. If you believe in
Yes,
yourself truly, then you're doing a disservice by not being in that potential
exactly.
client's life. That's the way I look at it. If I'm not in there in someone's life when they come to me, I'm doing them a disservice. But most
Yes,
people don't look at it like that. They're looking, what can I do to go get that? I've got to pay my rent. I've got to do this. I got to
yeah,
do that. So I got to do whatever I got to do to get that sale. That's the worst way to do it. When people think the cheapest way is the best way, and it's not. I'm not the cheapest. By far, I'm not the cheapest. I've got a very fair price, but I'm definitely not the cheapest. But when people work with me, they're going to get amazing results. And I know that. So I value my time. So if somebody wants to consult with me, I charge $2,000 an hour. And, that's a steal for people. Like in an hour, they're going to get a ton of information that's going to change their life and their business. So, but sometimes people don't even know how much their hour is worth. So I would say work on figuring out value that you are going to bring to people's lives. So you get the mindset in. That's the first thing.
yes,
Really, get into personal development, do affirmations, do the things that you need to do to get your head in the game. And who cares if you have 3 people that say no? That's the other thing. Somebody says no, you should have like a 30-second rule, right? You get into it. Like I used to tell my clients just for fun, like you can go get you ever see those giant like bowling pins? They look
yeah,
like a clown. You can punch, go get in the room, punch it out, get the frustration out, then you get back.
yeah.
The thing is, if you get on the next call with the dejection of the previous call, it's going to come out, especially if you sell over the phone. Remember, when you sell over the phone, you don't have the tools that you can use when you sell face to face. So anytime you can engage and use all 5 senses with a potential client, the odds of getting a sale goes higher, right? But I have a higher conversion rate than most people that sell face to face, because what I do is I evoke all senses. I get all the senses evoked, but the part of it is also my body language. If you are negative after losing out on a sale, it's going to come through. People understand. If you have an argument with your family members and you get on the call and you are talking to someone about becoming your client, they're not going to become your client if you're
Yes,
having that anger inside. People are very perceptive. They can read people's body. Even if you're making a phone call, I can still read your body language. I know body language from people's voice tone, their inflections, the way they talk to me, the passion that they talk to me with, right? So yeah, so the main thing I would say is as an individual coach or consultant, content writer, whatever the situation is, make sure that you believe in yourself, your product, and your mindset has to be, if I leave this conversation without them hiring me, I'm doing them a disservice. That is what your mindset has to be, right?
Yeah.
And once you do that, you get on the call, then it's about listening. So listening skills have to be improved. And then there's a flow. Obviously, there is a sales part, because it's not about being a nice person. It's not like, because there's a lot of nice people out there that are broke. They're not making any money because they're not listening, right? So being nice is just a part of it. People don't hire someone to be nice because they're nice. That's part of the process. They'll like, hey, that person's a nice person, we're like working with them. But if they're only nice and they're not good at what they're going to do,
That's not enough.
So you have to let them know that you are going to be somebody that they can trust. Know, like, and trust is a big saying within the sales community. And that's true. You have to get people to understand that they can know, like, and trust you, but they have to, at the end of the day, believe that you are going to take them from where they are. I mean, they're coming to you with some either pain or they're lacking the pleasure they want to go to. So there's some deficiency there. So they've got to know that you can take them from that point to a point they want to get to. If they feel that you can do that at a fair investment, they'll say yes. They'll say yes.
Yes. Many good points and important things. Love this idea. So what I learned also from Jeff Walker is, why do you have a duty to teach what you teach? So why is it your duty to bring your message to other people? What will they miss if you don't do it? So I think if you think like this is very similar to what you said before. Then people, I mean, then you have to be in front of the camera and shoot videos and create content and speak with people, because it's ethical. I have to do this, otherwise people will miss opportunities, or they will miss projects or things like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Cool. So when I mean, you already mentioned it, people are very good in selling face-to-face, meeting people. And through COVID, I mean, we have this pandemic, we have the situation where we are more focused now on digital things. So what are, in your opinion, what are differences when it comes to selling online compared to selling in the real world, so face-to-face? Are there things that people have in mind when they want to sell online better?
I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, I love selling online. I love doing Zoom calls or phone calls. I'm just used to that. But what I said to you earlier is, you want to make sure that you can get people to kind of experience on what, like, kind of being right in front of you, like, the sights, the smells, the sounds. And the way that you do that, again, is to asking questions. So, I mean, if you're looking at content writing, because, like, again, most of your audience is content writers, nobody wants to hire somebody to write content. That's just not it. They want to hire somebody because they want customers. That's at the end of the day.
Revenue.
A lot of times people think that, oh, they want me to hire content. No, they don't care about that part. They want to make sure that that content is going to lead to customers. That's why I always tell people, like, when you go into a hardware store and you go to buy a hammer, you don't go to buy a hammer. You buy it because you need a hole in the wall to hang a picture. That's why you're getting it, right? So you have to understand that. So content writers have to understand that, coaches have to understand, and you have to ask questions that's going to get people to start seeing what's going to happen. So give me an industry that you want me to use. Give me a vertical.
Consultants, business coaches, yeah.
Business coaches, okay. So business coaches, so somebody comes to them and says, hey, listen, I'm looking at hiring a business coach. Then you guys start asking questions. You got to ask questions, like I did with that young lady. So tell me a little bit about your coaching business now. Where is your coaching business where you want it to be? Absolutely not. So how is that affecting you, Jakob? How does that affect you not being where you want to be? I mean, I'm not making the money I want to. So are you doing this to make money? Or are you doing it to serve people? Tell me a little bit about what you're doing it for. Okay, and getting them to start doing, and then the picture comes. So when you can start helping more people, how is that going to make you feel? How is that going to change your life? When you can start going from, hey, I'm just barely paying my bills, to now I can go out and get the house of your dreams. I mean, can you envision that happening? If you were to go get that house, what's the first thing you would put in there? So what I would do, I ask a lot of these questions, to get people engaged, but also for them to start. There's a something called neuro linguistic programming, NLP. And and I don't use a lot of NLP, but one of the things I like to do is something called future pacing, which gets people to envision what their life is going to be when changes are done. So this is, I don't teach NLP. It's not a course that I teach, but there's certain pieces of it that I teach. And that's one that I really, because I want people to start looking, because if they look at their life the way it is as a coach, and that's all they see, they're not going to buy anything. They're not going to invest in themselves. But when they can start seeing a future version of them, or what can happen if they can do certain things like A, B, and C, and then you can let them see what can happen if you do that, they're going to start going, wow, I can see that transformation happening.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people sell, most people have heard, don't sell features, sell benefits. You may have heard that, right?
Yes.
You never sell. But the one thing that I don't hear often is there's features, there's benefits, but there's transformations.
Mm-hmm.
People love transformation. And I always sell to the transformation. I always talk to people about what can happen if you do this, what can happen. So what I would tell, so again, when you're all on Zoom or on the phone, they can't see you, right? They can't see you, they can't smell anything. Like if you're if you're a car salesman, you can smell that, sell that new car smell.
Yes.
Right? If you're selling a home, they can go check out the home and see the view. They can see the neighbors. They can see the parks in the area. You can't do that. You can't do that the same way, but you can do that. You can do exactly that by asking the right questions. Can you imagine? I want you to take a moment and imagine this, Jakob. I want you to take a moment and imagine this.
Yeah.
I want you to picture this. When this happens, what are you going to do first? Those are the type of questions most students never ask. Clients never ask when they, before they hire me. They don't ask those questions. What they say is, listen, I meet people, I say hi, I find out what they are looking for, and then I start pitching my service. That's pretty much what people do. So if you want things to change, if you're watching this now, if you're listening to this now, you want things to change, take what I'm sharing with you. There's a ton. I'm sure that the other podcasts Jakob's done are awesome, but I want you to ask yourself, what do you actually implement? So if you implement nothing from this conversation other than a few things, I would say become a better listener. Paint a picture by asking questions, because these people that you're talking to cannot smell, see, feel, taste, touch unless you ask the questions that are going to invoke that for them. Mm-hmm. Let them see what the future like. Let them see how it's going to be working with you. Let them see these type of things. Ask those questions. And the thing is, if you spend the time, and most people don't, because I know most people don't even have a script, and I'm not one that believes in scripts where reading it verbatim, but I do like an outline. You should have an outline. You should go in prepared. And again, you're doing your future client a service, not disservice, by doing that, because at the end of the day, you have to believe that their life is going to change from working with you. And if you don't believe it, you may have to look for something else to do, because you should not, in my opinion, no one should do anything just to make money. That's like one of the worst reasons to do, especially in our line of work, coaching, consulting, like that. You have to be looking to help other people. It's got to lead with that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So I have already a question catalog that I will write down after our conversation for the next conversations that I'm going to have. That's really cool. So one thing is one big thing is pricing. So, and this is also a big one, I think, that many have. So, for example, creating high price products and sell those. So there is something inside us that teaches us to be cheap. I don't know, but or can you give lessons on how to be okay and fine to create high priced value products and also sell them? So one thing is the mindset and that you value yourself, but is there another thing that you would recommend that you have in mind?
Yeah, I would, I'm also a marketer. I do a lot of different things. So I'm a marketer. So one of the things that I always tell for marketing is I do split testing. Mm-hmm. It's not what I think that people are going to want is what they actually want. That's like one of my mantras. So I test. If I look at a sales page and go, man, that's an awesome page, I still test it,
Yeah.
and I'll change a headline, do those type of things. So what I always tell coaches, consultants, service providers is split test your prices. One thing you're going to find is a lot of times people don't want cheap. I know I don't want cheap. I mean, there's certain things I want to get done very, cheaply. I can go get a logo and things like that for $5, right? But
A 5 hour.
if I want content, if I want something, I don't go to Fiverr for content. I go to other places and I look for specific things because for me, I want value with what I spend my money on. But like you said, the mindset for most people is I'm going to go cheap. And there's people like me that I spend money all the time. And I spend a lot of money and I still have mentors this day because I'm not great at everything. I'm really good at a ton of things and great at a ton of things. That's my mindset. But there's other things I'm not that great at. So I always still get mentors. And I don't always get cheap people, right? Even when I couldn't afford it, I went out to get the best because that's, to me, that makes a difference. So what I would do, and people, you'll be amazed if you actually increase your price, you may get more customers. So what I always tell people is split test. Like have at least 2 different price points that you test. And then at the end of the day, figure out what your goals are as well. And also look at how you're changing people's lives. Now there's quantitative things, like if somebody hires you to increase their sales, like let's say you're a Facebook coach and someone comes and says, listen, I want you to get me more sales. Well, you can track your clients, right? So let's say you start at $250 an hour or whatever, $150 an hour or something like that. Track and see what the results your customers are getting, your clients are getting. And if you're getting them big increases, then you can start justifying a price increase. Wait a second, I'm charging $150 and these people are making so much money. I'm going to go up to $250 or for $5 and test it. So that the best thing to do is test it. But I would say test high, not low. Like don't cut your price, go higher. So at least have 2 different price points, have 2 sales pages, have 2 funnels, or just have 2 price points. If you're using the organic way, like maybe doing Instagram posts or things like that, have 2 different price points. If you're doing a strategy call, have 2 price points and see and I'm telling you, people will amaze themselves that more people will take the higher one. Or you could have, it really depends. I mean, I think 2 is enough. So I would say sit down, spend the time, look at your, it's always nice to, I like to look at the competition. I like to look and see what the market is, has out there. And then you can test according to that. But at the end of the day, you want to value your time, your time. So again, if we want to help people, but it's not a charity, right? You're not like helping people for free. That's not the, society we're living in. There's nothing wrong with asking people for money if you're going to change your lives, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's what capitalism is all about. So I'm never anti making money, but I am pro helping that to lead. But as if you're doing that, and the reason I charge $2,000 an hour is I know I'm worth it. I know if you listen to this podcast right now, I'm pretty sure it's a free podcast. Just in this time, if people implement what I'm sharing with you, I know their business is going to change. I know for a fact it is, because I've given a lot of free content to people. But the sad thing is sometimes when it's free, people don't implement, right?
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah.
That's the sad part. A lot of times people, when I'm getting for free. So that's why when you charge for, like, if I charge for this, I know people will use it more, right? So I would say split test. So the mindset still is important, but I would say split testing prices and then go with a higher price and you'll be amazed what can happen.
Oh, okay, cool. Very, very, very valuable advice. So we're running a little bit out of time. My last question is, so who would you recommend for my podcast? So I'm always interested in people who create cool content or is in this thinking of business models in the digital world. So if there is somebody who you know and trust and who you think would be a cool fit, I would love to get an introduction.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I know so many people. That's the thing. I've been on a lot of people's podcasts and I know so many people, but if you had to just say one person, one I would say is a gentleman by the name of Chris Ross. Chris and I have been friends for a while, and he is one of the most successful people that I know. And I love him and I love his desire and attitude and how he wants to help people. that's one thing that I connect with, because I don't see a lot of people in the sales industry that I have as a role model. I think when we were talking before, you were asking me who are some of the people that I like and follow, and there's bits and pieces of things that I've gotten from people. There's two books in terms of sales that I like. One is called Ogilvy on Advertising, which is not really a sales book, and it's an advertising book, but it's an amazing book to read because it shows you how images can evoke emotion in people to get them to buy. So I like this because it helps me to start putting those pictures into words. And this one is by Tom Freeze, called The Secrets of Question-Based Selling, which is a great book as well. I've got something that I put out there for students. Is it's the Unselling System manifesto. It's a free audio book, or I'm sorry, ebook that you can get. But the reason I like Chris is he really is like almost a mirror version of me. And he does a lot of different things as well. He does a lot more things on Instagram, and he's more of an influencer. I'm like more of a behind the scenes guy. Like I work with some of the top people in internet marketing that most people will never know. I mean, these names that I would tell you are New York Times best-selling authors. So I work with them and I help build their organizations. I help build their sales teams. I help consult with them. So I'm more of a behind the scenes guy. Like I said, I really value the time I have with my family. So it's like, even when you were asking me if there's anything I want to promote or sell, I really don't, because I'm kind of maxed out with referrals right now. So I'm good. But I will tell you, if any of your audience ever has a question, I could let you know my private email that I do respond to. So if anybody listens to this and they have a question, you can just email me at TG, which is TIJI at tgthomas.com. So that comes directly to me. All right. So you just email TIJI at tgthomas.com. And I will personally, not an assistant, I will personally respond to you. All right. I love, I love doing these type of podcasts when I have time. It's like, I think we've been talking almost 2 months or something. It's just hard. Even this time is like, time that I do with my team. But I know I loved what you told me when we first spoke about the message and the passion you have in sharing, getting people to your industry, into your vertical that can help them with their business. And I'm all about helping people. If I get the time, I have to help people. Just the time is a challenge. But yeah, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, just I have nothing to sell, so nothing to, I'm not selling anything. But if you have any questions, sales related, about your coaching business, content writing, whatever, just feel free to email me. All right.
Cool. I will put it into the show notes, your email, so that people really. Okay.
No problem. I may not answer everybody right away, but when I get to it, I promise I will personally email.
That's really cool. Really appreciate your time, Tiji. Thank you so much for these valuable lessons, and hope to speak with you soon again. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Take care, everyone.